Hello and welcome to the Transcendence Exceed Show. I'm your guest host, Megan North. I would like to thank our wonderful sponsors of the show, Quantum Awakening, Voyage of Transcendence, myself, and our lovely guest who paid to be featured on the show today. So today I am joined by a beautiful woman who I met at a ThetaHealing course last year, and we connected immediately. Stella Guerri is a dedicated healer and intuitive guide who is also passionate about embodiment practices with a deep connection to spiritual, emotional, and real-life tangible transformation. Specializing in theta healing and inspired by the teachings of Vianna Stibal, integrating metaphysic insights, Stella empowers individuals to overcome addictions, negative patterns, behaviours, and reclaim balance, harmony, power, and embrace their true selves. As someone who loves to work with Mother Cacao, Stella honours its sacred essence, creating heart-centred spaces for healing and self-discovery. Passionate about building a thriving community, she offers transformative one-on-one theta healing sessions, embodiment workshops, and courses to support clients on their journey to inner peace and fulfillment. With a mission to bringing clients back to truth and clarity, Stella blends ancient wisdom with modern techniques, making her work a beacon for those seeking deeper spiritual alignment and emotional well-being. Welcome to the show, Stella. I have really been looking forward to having this conversation with you.
Thank you for having me on the show, Megan.
And just for everybody who's not in Australia, we're in a bit of a heat wave today, so we're both sweltering with 40-degree heat, which for those in America, it's 104. So I looked that up before just to convert for a little bit of hot. It's quite hot today, yes. So Stella, let's start from the beginning. So when did your healing journey really begin?
So my healing journey really began in my early 20s. I'm in my early 30s now. Mm-hmm. So I've been in it for well over a decade. I started to dabble in yoga and meditation, and that's where things really started to roll and started to spin for me in the best way. Meditation created that space of peace and quiet that we also need in this world. And it created really divine spark moments for me and light bulb moments. And it actually sparked my idea for my very first business way back in the day.
Wow.
So meditation has been a really inspiring place for me to begin my journey.
Right. And so when you're talking about, the yoga and the meditation and when you've had these sparks, do you feel that you always had that intuitive knowing, but it was just, it was the yoga and those sort of things awakened it?
Absolutely. For a long time before I started dabbling in yoga and meditation and self-help and creating that quiet, that peace in the mind and the body.
Mm-hmm.
I actually struggled with depression and feeling quite numb and quite pulled down by my whole experience of life as a human. We all have those human moments.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I felt like quite numbed by everything that had happened in my life. And so meditation and yoga really awakened and kind of woke me up from that experience of numbness and sleepiness.
Yeah, it is that sort of feeling, isn't it, of that you feel like that you've been asleep and all of a sudden you've literally been awakened.
100%. Totally waking.
Yeah. And so what brought you to where you are now being a healer? So what is it in those moments that you had that you decided that you really wanted to pursue this, just more from not doing it for yourself but for others?
I experienced for a long time just moving from job to job, career to career, and always feeling like I wasn't meant to be in those spaces, that I wasn't in my sense of purpose. I felt like, nah, this isn't it. This isn't it. This isn't what I'm doing. And I guess my heart, I was on a constant quest, pursuing and looking for and searching for something that felt like me, felt like I meant to be here. And it didn't happen until I found a modality that I teach in and that I hold space with now, and that I'm so ever passionately in love with. So, yeah.
And I can totally relate to you, because I know that when I started on my journey of finding a modality that would work for me and that I then wanted to learn more about, theta healing was the one thing. I had done a lot of other things, but all of a sudden something in it just clicked for me as well. And it just resonated 100% as soon as I walked into that room. So I can completely relate to how you feel about that.
100%, 100%. The moment that I stepped into the room, when I did my basic course, as we all have to do the basic course, I didn't even have a one-on-one. I had no experience in it. All I had was somebody had spoken to me, the fact that you can create a change within an instant. And then she used the words theta healing. And for months and months, those words just kept ringing in my head over and over. And I was like, man, there's something in this. I've got to go searching for it. So I went and Googled it in my local area, and I found my wonderful teachers. And the moment I sat down, I remember it clear as day, the moment I sat down in those particular chairs and I was looking at my teacher and all the people around me, and I was like, this is what I'm meant to be doing. And the class had barely even begun. So that was my divine spark moment.
Beautiful. And for the audience, can you just share a little bit in relation to theta healing and what it means to you and how a session would work with a client?
Yeah, theta healing is a really powerful tool at exploring your subconscious mind, the programs that run you on an unconscious level. So the way you think, the way you eat, the way you sleep, the way your body, the way your cells turn over in your body on a microscopic level as well as a macroscopic level, who you attract in your life, who you don't attract, who you're repelling. So this is all run by programs that we don't even know are running in the background. 97% of our operating systems are run by the subconscious mind, and only about 3 to 5% are run by the conscious mind, by your conscious choices. And so what theta healing does is connects you straight to divine source energy, which some people call great spirit, creator all that is, some people call it God. And we're able to create tangible shifts through the subconscious mind using unconditional love, which is creator's energy. And that's why I love theta healing, because of its purity, because of the truth. There's no falseness about it. It's pure light and it's pure love.
Yeah, beautiful. And it's also the thing that I find fascinating is when you're talking about those unconscious or subconscious, the belief systems, it's incredible the beliefs that we take on for the audience, we're in a theta state between the ages of 2 and 6. So that's when we take on all our belief systems. And I always say to people, between the ages of 2 and 6, I don't think I had my own belief systems. I'm pretty sure I was taking on most people around me. And so that's the thing that I think is really fascinating, of these things that we don't even know we have a belief of, that, you know, maybe your dad said when you were 2 or 3, that we take on through our life.
100%. Yeah, it's so interesting how we grow up as little kids, and then adolescents, and then teenagers, and then we're young adults, and then we're grown up mature adults in the world. And as you're growing up through your teenage angst, there's so much anger and projection that happens, and that happens for most teenagers. Is, you know, we're very cranky about our experience, about our parents, about our family, and a lot of it is not even ours. And what ends up happening is a numbness, a depression, or just constant allowance of anger to being projected at the world. And I think that's what happened to me, was that I was unconsciously taking on everything from my family, my environment, all the people I was going to school with, the systems that I was a part of. No fault of my own and no fault of anybody else's, but it was just it was an energetic skill in a way that I had, of just bagging up and taking everything on my back and being like, oh, this is me. This is how I operate. But in actual truth, our true operating systems are actually pure health and love. And so when you start to do the healing and you can actually swim through all of that stuff, that garbage, the negative belief systems, you actually get to a place where you're really good in a good mental headspace, and you make better decisions, and you attract really amazing people in your life. So 100%, when you're so little, you take on all of this stuff and you create all of these belief systems that love is meant to be like this, relationships is meant to be like this, my career is meant to be this. So super interesting.
And it's fascinating too, because I know I've had many an aha moment of thinking, like working through something in my life that I've been stuck on, or I felt that it's a block, and then have uncovered through a theta healing session that it's not my belief, it was my dad's belief or my grandmother's belief. And that I feel like there's two things that happen when that sort of stuff gets uncovered for me. I have this glorious aha moment of, oh my gosh, it makes sense. But also, I also have this moment of deep self-forgiveness, because often when we have these blocks, we're often blaming ourselves and beating ourselves up about things, when actually we find that it's a belief system that we're holding on to. Now, I'm not saying then I shift the blame to my grandfather or my mother or anybody like that, but I just give myself forgiveness that actually it's okay, and that we can heal this, and we can unblock it and heal it and move through it.
Yeah, 100%. Compassion is massive. Like, we're all on this human journey, and we've all made less than perfect decisions, and we've all been less than perfect to the individual that we'd like to be now. But the importance is that you wake up and you make a better decision each day, and every day is better, and you have a more positive mindset every single day. Mindset and control over your thoughts. And I know the word control might be used with a negative connotation most of the time, but like, it is quite a skill to have control over your thoughts. And so when you use that muscle of, okay, I'm going to keep my thoughts in a positive state today, the more you do that, the stronger your ability to do that becomes.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And it's just incredible what we can do with our mind, isn't it? Like, you know, when you decide, it's quite incredible. And so the name of this episode is Big Feelings. So can you share with us a little more about that, and why you decided to go with naming the episode Big Feelings? What's behind that?
I think my whole growing up, my whole adolescence was like, if you could have labeled me as anything, even though I don't like labels and labels aren't necessarily helpful, but I guess I was that young person that just had big feelings and needed to be heard and needed to be felt and needed to be held in a really, really beautiful and loving and gentle way without judgment. And people that I used to go to school with, I used to go out and party with, I was always the one that had the big feelings. I always had a lot going on in my heart, in my mind, in my body. There was just so much going on, so much drama, so much sadness, so much emotion. And I was that girl. I was the big feelings girl. And so I had to work on holding space for myself and also having discernment with who is good for me in terms of holding space for me, who is actually a safe and trustworthy person to actually hold space for me in terms of a mentor or a healer or a therapist or a good friend or a good partner, you know, because sometimes we can have very well-meaning friends or family or environments, which is people surrounding us, but a lot of us, in our human experience, we don't know how to hold space for people with big feelings. And so I guess I have a soft spot for people who are going through those same big feelings that I used to go through.
Right.
I guess I'm coming from a place of lived experience there.
Yeah. And do you refer to it as big feelings because at the time it was one big thing on top of another that and because you're obviously very empathic as well, but you probably weren't aware of it. Is that where you talk about it as big feelings?
I guess I always felt like I had a lot to express on my heart and my mind, and it felt like a roller coaster of emotions. It felt very, in my time growing up, in my teenagers and my early 20s, it was very hard for me to find a day where I actually felt good.
Wow. Okay.
So I was constantly in battle with my own emotions, and they felt like a huge burden, like I didn't know how to process them. They were a big, big, heavy burden on me. And I guess I had so much backed up, right? So many layers of emotions, so many feelings, so many traumatic experiences that hadn't been processed on a human level or an energetic or a spiritual level. And I think a lot of people experience that emotional backup, and what ends up happening is we end up projecting that at the people that we love or people in our workplace or people that we just are in our environment.
Yeah, yeah. And I could imagine when you, when you are going through that and then you're not quite, you're not open or you're not quite understanding why that's happening for you, then I would imagine huge levels of frustration would have come in because all you said you wanted to be was heard, you wanted to be listened to, you wanted to be held. And when that doesn't happen, then there's more frustration and more frustration gets put on you as well. And you're right, I think it's then when those sort of things, you just get so frustrated that the way that you react to things and that you say to things is not really your intention, but it's more out of, oh my gosh, like, why aren't you listening to me?
100%. And that's why, like, I've heard people say this many times, this isn't coming from me, is what's always below anger is always sadness. It's always sadness. There's always some element of sadness, not feeling heard, not feeling loved, feeling rejected, feeling abandoned, you know. There's always some sense of sadness deep below that. And it's just a part of the human journey, and we are getting there. Like, there's more and more therapists, holistic practitioners, healers out there really stepping into their power with teaching people how to sit with somatic practices, embodiment practices, women's circles, men's circles, knowing how to actually share and listen and go, hey, I'm not the only one going through this stuff. It's okay. Like, this is the human journey. We're meant to learn and develop those virtues.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's a real skill that I suspect you've probably learned too from being a healer, is that real sitting and just holding space for someone and just listening and not feeling like you have to respond or tell them your experience or give them your opinion. I've found myself personally that the way that I hold that space and I just sit there for that person has completely transformed the way that I am as a person now, because it's not about me, it's about them, and how can I hold that space and just be there for them and be present for them.
100%. I want to just bring in a memory that I have that you've made me recall. Is I had this beautiful man come and have a face-to-face one-on-one session with me in the Sunshine Coast, and he was going through a lot, and I held space for him, and I felt like throughout the whole session I felt like I don't know how to help this individual, and I was like genuinely in this space of, oh wow, he's brought in a lot, and I don't know what to do. So I just was like putting it up to Creator in that moment. And he expressed a lot came out through the session, and walked away from the session. And I was kind of doubting my space holding abilities. And I was like, oh no, maybe he walked away and he didn't like it, or he didn't get much out of it. And then I saw him 2 weeks later, and he comes up to me and he goes, you have no idea how much of a life-changing experience that was for me. That was amazing. Like, I feel 30,000 times lighter. And I was like, oh, wow. And I remember just having that light bulb moment of just listen. Just listen. And then I had another amazing mentor of mine called Manda. And she told me the best thing you can do if you want to find the answer to the client is listen. Listen to the client. The client will give you all the answers that you need. And so I endeavored from that moment onwards to be like, shut my mouth and listen. Hold space with an open mouth, and close your mouth, say less. And I say that with love. Like, I'm not saying that to be harsh to myself. I'm saying that to like actually listen. We have 2 ears for a reason and 1 mouth. So I was trying to remember that saying that people say, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So, but I totally, and even like space holding for friends, right? Like when you're listening to a friend that you love so much and you want to fix all their problems, but the best thing to do, honestly, like honest to God, is just listen. Close your mouth and listen. And those divine, I guess, messages of guidance, they'll come through when they need to.
Yeah, exactly. And did you know that the same letters to spell listen are the same letters to spell silent?
I love that. Oh my God.
Exact same letters, they just switched around. I don't think that's a coincidence.
Oh no, that's like God planned that one.
Absolutely. All right, so we need to take a short break. Oh my gosh, I want to keep going, but we do need to hear from our sponsors. So we'll just hear from our sponsors just for a couple of minutes, and then we'll come back. We'll share with the audience how they can connect in with you, and then we'll keep exploring your journey because there's lots more to talk about. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes. back to the show, and I'm having this amazing and incredible conversation with Stella. We've just been talking about holding space and the art of listening, which has been very insightful, that's for sure. So Stella, I'm just going to pop a QR code on the screen, and this is how our clients can connect in with you.
Amazing.
Yeah, great. Okay, good. Okay, so let's dive into some pivotal moments in your life. So where you've been really proud of yourself. You've got a couple of moments that you're able to share with us and explain what happened. And I mean, you don't need to go into full detail, but share with us some wonderful things that you've done that you've been really proud of.
I guess it would be my venture to the Northern Rivers. So I live in the sunny coast right now, but I used to live in the south coast of Sydney. And it was during COVID time, and we were outside of the lockdown period, and I was having a very tumultuous time in my personal life. And I thought to myself, you know what? I've been wanting to go to the Northern Rivers for years, and I haven't gone up for a visit forever. I've always been putting it on the back burner.
Mm.
And I just decided out of nowhere, out of blue, I'm going to go up the Northern Rivers. And my intention was to go up there and find a really amazing healer, to find some guidance in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I went up there and I knew nobody. And I used my intention and I followed the red thread, the little feathers of guidance from the universe to send me to this cafe and then this cafe and read this community notice board and this one over here, and till I found this amazing, beautiful angel of a human.
Wow.
This angel on earth. And she ended up connecting me into, she was the individual that told me about creating an instant shift and ThetaHealing. Right. So that was a pivotal, massive moment in my life, because I felt like that choice to take a plunge into the unknown and just trust in the universe and connect into my womb space and listen to my intuition actually led me to my purpose. So I'm really proud of doing that now, even though at the time I was like, what even am I doing? Why am I here? Why am I on a plane up north? I don't even know where I'm going to stay. I don't know anybody. I don't know any community up there. But I did it, and I ended up in a really amazing space. So
that's beautiful. That's really special. And it's really interesting, isn't it? Because I often think that I talk about how, like with our angels and guides and creator of all that is and ancestors, you know, they can see, they've got the umbrella view of us. So they can see the whole of our life and soul purpose. And us living here in the world, you know, at a particular moment, you know, for you thinking, oh, I might go up and see, you know, this is a tiny little speck in the whole overall. But I often think that's where, for me, that's where my real trust comes in, because I truly believe that creator and all of my guides and angels and ancestors, they want the best for me. They can see the umbrella view. So they are going to guide me. So, you know, even when I'm in a moment of, oh my gosh, am I doing the right thing, or what am I doing? I think, okay, this is just this tiny little moment in time, Megan, and actually just go into that trust, because I will be divinely guided.
100%. I remember, so coming to divine guidance, I remember placing my hand. This is where I developed my connection with my solar plexus. So it's really random. It was out of the blue. No one taught me how to do it. And I guess, you know, through yoga and meditation, you learn, you know, place your hand on your womb or your head or your knees, things like that. But I just randomly made up, all right, what if I place my hand on my solar plexus and I speak to the universe and tell the universe, you know, show me an amazing healer that's going to keep me safe and keep me aligned to my purpose and give me some guidance in my life. And I over the course of 5 days, I was doing this multiple times a day, and every single time I was given these little feather moments where I was like, go here, no, go there, go to the next step and the next step. Ended up finding myself connecting with this amazing woman. And it was all from that practice of connecting into my body and my solar plexus.
Wow. And so when you're talking about feather moments, are you talking about then that you literally saw a feather, or are you just using that as a metaphoric sort of?
Metaphoric in this state, although I do love, I do notice, and I have my relationship with seeing feathers and things like that, and animals and totems and things like that.
Yeah.
But mine was more like little inklings, little spark moments, where I would see an individual with interesting tattoos, and I just had, this was where that red thread, following the red thread moment, where I thought he had interesting tattoos, and I thought he was quite a spiritual person just from the look of his tattoos. And something in me said, turn around and ask him if he knows any really amazing people in the Northern Rivers that are amazing healers.
Wow.
And so I turned around and he gave me that first red thread to follow. And that set the course of events to find this person who got me in contact with that amazing individual.
Right. Wow. Gosh, isn't that amazing? I love that. And that's a beautiful example of being in that 100% trust.
100%. It's like I had no other option but to trust, because I had no one to connect with, so I didn't have any comfort, no comfort zones. I was completely out of the comfort zone.
Yeah. And I think it's when you talk about that too, I think when we talk about our gut, it's 100% our intuition. And so many people get these feelings, but then they ignore them, or they think, oh no, that can't be right. And again, that's where that whole holistic really trust in all the guidance that you're getting, because whatever you're feeling, I've never ever had a feeling that then wasn't something that I needed to feel to push me to move on to something else.
100%. And like the solar plexus is about power and community and friendships and prosperity too. So I guess when I placed my hand over that solar plexus, it's like I was creating a spark, or creating an electricity current, waking it up. That's how I see it anyway. I don't know if everybody else will see it the same way.
Yeah.
But it takes practice. And that's what intuitive practices and intuitive modalities that open your psychic senses and your healing capabilities.
Yeah.
It all comes back to practice. And intuition is like the mindset, positive mindset. It's a muscle that we need to practice and use every day. But positivity and intuition go hand in hand.
Beautifully. And when you're talking about the solar plexus, you're talking like where your belly button is, right? That's the solar plexus?
Solar plexus is above your belly button.
Belly button, right.
So it's below your chest area.
Yeah.
Above the belly button.
Right. Okay, good. Just thought I'd make that clear for, or the audience members might be Googling where the solar plexus are.
And solar plexus is very connected with yellows and golds. So if you want to create a stronger connection with your solar plexus, having things like citrine crystals or yellow type clothing or gold is really good for amplifying solar plexus energy.
Yeah, great. Beautiful. Thank you for that tip. That's very good. Now let's talk about your passion for theta healing and energetics. What is it that you love so much about this?
What I love about it so much is how empowering it is, not only for me as a practitioner, but for every single person that experiences the modality as a receiver, or like when you do your basic, you can follow this on and do this yourself at home, or clients if you wish. But the main thing is that empowerment. So it nurtures your connection to creative all that is, without any boxes or constructs. And the fact that you can go home and use this on yourself and create really tangible results and shifts within your own life. So you can support yourself instead of having to externalize and get help from the outside all the time, which it is important to be able to say, hey, I need some support, whether that's through a counselor, a therapist, a healer, but it gives you a tool and a toolbox to go home with and to be like, okay, I can actually shift things on my own and I can work on things myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting that you saying that, you know, still getting support from others, because I find that having done the theta healing for probably about 10 years now, I'm pretty quick with working through things. But I know that when we were doing the course, you and I did some stuff with each other, and sometimes there's things that I have to get out of my own way for someone else to help me to shift that, because I'm just too close. There's some things that you can see yourself, and then there's other things where you're just so close that you really do need to work with someone else.
100%. This is why community is so important. This is why I love the concept of having women's circles, men's circles, you know, combined circles, retreats, all that kind of thing, and workshops as well. My mind's gone blank.
Support, community support.
Yeah, community is so important. And I wanted to say as well, the subconscious mind can be very sneaky. It can be very sneaky and very tricky, and it can when you're at a stage where you're going to create a big shift, you're going to get out of your comfort zone. Subconscious mind can sabotage you, like really, really well, to the point where you're like, whoa, I did not even see that. Like, I could not even see. Almost like, I guess you could say it's almost like little traps get set up, and then you're sabotaged and your life is sort of delayed in certain ways, and you start to question, why is my life getting delayed in these ways? And it's actually because you're afraid of certain shifts or changes, or you're essentially afraid of getting out of your comfort zone in this area of your life. So yeah, subconscious mind can be sneaky. We can work with that. And that's why it's important to have a fresh perspective from the outside, so that they can pick up on those unique things happening.
Yeah. And, you know, it can be confronting because particularly if it's something that your subconscious mind is being sneaky about and it doesn't want you to see. But, I mean, naturally, you know, we all go into this, I don't want to do something that brings me fear or I feel unsafe. So there's all these things that go through our mind. No, you can't do that, because, you know, like being on the TV show, you know, when I was first on here, I was like, no, I can't do that, you know, because there's all these things that tell you you've got to be safe, and no, we can't do that. Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it, of those things. But if you can look at it or get somebody to say to you in a loving and gentle way, this is what I'm picking up, or that's the fear that I'm seeing, that it actually gets you to sort of look at it and feel it in a different perspective.
Yeah, and I think that that's one of the qualities of a really good space holder, is someone who's able to feel into what you actually need in that moment. Do you need gentle, loving guidance, or do you need someone who's a little bit firm with you? And it completely depends on the person, you know, and it depends on how long you've been in this, say, sabotage spot. For me, I need a balance. I need someone who's going to be really loving and gentle with me, but also someone who's going to be really honest and firm with me when I'm stuffing things up and I'm doing these things over and over.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I can understand that too. That balance. Yeah. That's a really good point. Yeah. Very good. And so, what have been the most this is a big question, the most incredible transformations that you have seen in people with this modality, or clients of yours? What can you share? Maybe a couple of examples of some things that you've worked on with some clients?
Yeah, in particular, I had a female client that I was working with over a course of over a few months, working on these different emotional things going on. And as a positive side effect, we weren't even directly working on this issue. She was able to completely heal her relationship with a substance.
Wow. So it wasn't even what you were working on.
It wasn't even what we were working on. And she contacted me after a little bit of time, and she said, you know, I just want to express to you that I have no calling to be around substance that she was having a tricky time with. Yeah. And on top of that, she was able to be around it, be surrounded by it, and have zero calling to partake, which is massive for someone who's had addictive tendencies. And then another client of mine, within a matter of hours, she was able to rekindle a very personal family relationship that had had zero communication for an extended period of time. And that was purely after literally just one session, 1 hour. And I remember receiving that message, and she was expressing a lot of gratitude, and I was like moved to tears, because I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy you've been able to rekindle this relationship. That was obviously really, really important to her. So yeah, I guess those are my two most heartwarming ones. And I've had clients too that have had difficulty reading all their life, like being able to sit down and read a novel. Being able to sit down and pay attention and actually retain information that they're reading instead of constantly getting distracted. And I remember this client messaging me after a few months and being like, there's been a shift, like I can actually sit down and read a book now, and I'm reading multiple books now. So that was pretty amazing as well.
Absolutely. And so what sort of things did they have limiting beliefs in someone said to them as a child, or what sort of things were in the subconscious and in their belief system that was blocking that?
It was quite some time ago now, so I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
But it was for the client that had reading issues.
Yeah.
It was more about it was more the positive downloads that she needed. So sometimes it's just a couple of the positive downloads, and sometimes it can just take care of it. But for her, and there was inner child healing. I remember now, it was quite inner child healing, and there was a connection with her mother, and healing that relationship with her mother.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about positive downloads, just for the audience, so we talk about when we do a healing, we heal what's there, but then we always make sure that we refill that void with the positivity. So the positive download would be, I'm a very strong reader. I'm able to retain the words that I read. I enjoy reading.
Yeah, I enjoy reading. I can understand everything that I read, and I'm peacefully, calmly taking in all the information. Yeah, and it's always, and I'm always bringing in creator's energy when I'm doing these downloads, and at the end of any of my own self-created downloads, I'm always asking creator to bring in the perfect replacements as well, because creator knows best, and sometimes it's just best to go, creator, take care of it. But you've just made me think of another really amazing transformation. This was more with my embodiment. My embodiment practice. I had a beautiful client who contacted me recently, who I just have restarted my cacao and embodiment groups. And she messaged me, she said, I actually can't attend this one because I'm actually pregnant. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And she said to me that after the last one I did in the middle of last year, that she was able to go home. She had moved through so much that she was able to go home and consciously conceive with her partner.
Wow.
They fell pregnant straight away. So I was like, wow, that's amazing. I was like, I'm meant to be doing this. It was just one of those, again, gratitude moments. Yeah. Obviously, she had been doing a lot of the background work. It's healing is it's an all parts. But sometimes you just need that little bit of help, that little bit of nudge, whether with embodiment or with a one-on-one, and the world's your oyster.
Yeah, wow. And with that first example that you gave, the client came to you for something different, but then they ended up healing the dependency on the substance. It just shows, doesn't it, that once we start doing this work on ourselves, the ripple effect that it has on everything else that's going on in our life. That's a perfect
100%.
example. Yeah.
100%. As soon as you are first cause in your own life. So as soon as you start to shift your own internal reality, your external reality shifts. This is why theta healing is so amazing for manifestation work as well. So if you're working on manifesting, a new career, or moving to a different state, or whatever it is, more clients, theta healing works hand in hand with that, because your belief systems are predicting and creating your external reality.
Yeah.
So in order to change your external reality, you need to go within, you need to listen, and we need to shift things.
Yeah, beautiful. That's a great explanation of that as well. Thank you. So what is it that you want people to know or understand about changing your life or healing?
Oh, it takes commitment, and it takes consistency, and it takes humility. It takes getting out of your comfort zone and getting really, really humble with yourself, and also being really compassionate with yourself. We're all human, we're all on this human journey, and we've all made different choices. But a positive always outweighs a negative. So as soon as you are ready to create change in your life, universe has your back. Universe is on your side. Your angels, your guides, creator that is, God is always on your side.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think too that sometimes I look at it and think, okay, I'm going to go through this journey of shifting and changing this. I know that, I might go through some rockiness and some emotional stuff, but what's the alternative? I sit here in the stuckness, or I work through that and then I have a breakthrough. And I mean, 10 out of 10 times, it's always let's work through it. It may not be, okay, let's go today. It might take me a few weeks or a couple of months, but I always look at that, the what's the alternative? If I don't do this, am I happy to just sit and be stuck? And I think you would know this too from a client perspective, that as soon as a client comes to you, they're already halfway there, because they've decided to work on it. They've exchanged energy from a financial point of view. They've invested in themselves. And I think that that's really important too for people to, when you're wanting to make a change, it's just that first step can make a big difference because you're already halfway there.
100%. You're making that commitment, and you're already creating those connections through the universe, and things already start to shift. Like I've found that even when I work with mentors or healers, I might book a session in a couple months' time and things already start to shift before that. A month or two, it's like I'm already creating, the healing's already starting, and I haven't even had this session with this person.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I've had that too, where I've booked in with someone a couple of months down the track and then gotten to the session and said, well, what I was going to originally work with you on has been healed, but something else has come up.
Something deeper than the next layer. Yeah, that's cool. That's divine.
Yeah, exactly. So can you believe we've actually only got a few minutes left? Told you it would go quickly. So I would like to ask you the same question that I ask all of my guests before we finish our conversation. So can you share with us what your favorite quote is and why is it so important to you?
So I'll see if I can get it exactly right. So it's the one that people say, you can't change the wind, but you can adjust your sails. And that to me is so descriptive of the internal and external explanation. What I said before about creating that shift within yourself, going internal, and then watching the magic unfold before your eyes.
That's really beautiful.
I love.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. And it is perfect for the end of this conversation, because it really does sum up exactly what you've spoken about today. It is that internal and then that external. So thank you. So Stella, thank you so very much for joining me today. It has been such a beautiful conversation, and I've learned so much more about you, your journey, and I really feel blessed to have had this time with you today. So I have no doubt that our audience will have enjoyed it too. So thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Welcome. And I also just want to thank all of our amazing and dedicated audience, our supporters, and to our sponsors, and that I hope that you all have an amazing and beautiful weekend. And I will see you all next week. Thanks.
Hey guys.